Live. Ooh, spooky. Hello, everyone. This is Mary San Giovanni, and we are about to start BuzzBooks Expo 2023. Let me tell you a little bit about both the people who are putting this show on for you and a little bit about what BuzzBooks is about. If anyone doesn't know me, I'm Mary San Giovanni. I write pretty much cosmic horror and thrillery type stuff. I am joined by my cohorts and colleagues, Summer Cannon and Matt Wilderson. Summer Cannon is in the chat, and Matt Wilderson is right here. There's his head. And let me tell you a little bit about BuzzBooks Expo. Basically, our goal, we wanted to, in general, with BuzzBooks, in all of its iterations and incarnations, our goal is to bring together writers and readers and to sort of foster that relationship so that writers can find the people who want to read their books. And by readers, I mean book reviewers, librarians, booksellers, podcasters, bookstagrammers, agents, publishers, anybody who loves to read the same way that we do. We want to be able to help you find what's coming out in horror, and likewise for writers, since we're all writers, and we know that building an audience kind of makes us feel like we're not just writing in the void. We want writers to help find the readers who would like to read their stuff. So that's essentially the goal of BuzzBooks in general. With the Expo, what we try to do is we try to provide a platform online, and we try to keep it simple because Lord knows I'm a simple person in many ways. We try to keep it simple in that what we'd like to do is bring in familiar publishers and newer publishers. And this year we're adding an additional track of self-publishers as well. And having them talk a little bit about their experiences in publishing and with horror writers, and most importantly, talking about the titles that they have coming out for the next year in horror, dark fantasy, dark thrillers, things like that. So we look to give them a place that they can present this, ideally to an audience of people who are genuinely excited and interested in horror titles that are coming out for the rest of 2023 and 2024. Now, we've had some questions. This will be our fourth annual BuzzBook Expo. Okay. And we've had some questions about what the presentations entail, what the ads entail. And for my opening remarks, which is basically what I'm doing here, I would like to try to address some of these questions. For the length of the expo, any questions that you have at home while you're in the chat, anything you want to pose to me, to Summer or Matt, and especially to our presenters today and tomorrow, the best way to make sure that we see it, that we could, pop it up on the screen to have people answer the questions for you, is to type question in the comments and then what your question is. And then this way we can, it's more visual for us. We can see it, we can put it up on screen and address all the questions. Some of the questions we've gotten prior to the expo, though, about the presentations. Primarily, the people that will be presenting today are small press publishers. We have, as I mentioned, we have a number of publishers that you will probably recognize, that maybe you've worked with. And we always try to bring in new publishers who are publishing horror that we feel are doing it right, that they care about the writers, that they're looking into what they can do to best benefit the stable of writers that they work with. Just as an example, yes, Brian, question like this, exactly like that. Thank you. And then this way we can, address questions. So we have, as I mentioned, we have this broad range of publishers that we're working with. But Summer has brought up on more than one occasion that there is a healthy self-publishing segment of the writer population that is doing pretty well with that, and that it does appeal to some newer writers. And because, again, our goal is to bring writers and readers together, uh, we decided that it would be a good idea to hear from them and hear about the process and about promotion, again, how promotion is growing and changing and evolving with the different methods of publishing that are constantly being developed as the technology changes. So the format of the presentations, we've settled on what we feel is a good time frame. Each presenter gets approximately 20 minutes with 10-minute breaks in between, during which we run ads. Now, these presentations are they can be slideshows, they can be interviews, which we're going to have a couple of today. They can be panels, which we're also going to have today. They can just be, sort of brief, informal discussions about the upcoming works that publishers have. We're pretty flexible on the formatting, the actual presentation methods of each presenter's segment. What we ideally want to accomplish, as I said, is that you in the audience can see all of the cool stuff that's coming out for the next year. And we hope it gives a boost to the publishers and writers alike, and that excited readers will benefit from joining here. We've had publishers announce surprise things that they announced here first. We've had giveaways. We've had secret announcements. We've even had open submission calls, only, and that the initial phase was only for people who were here during the expo and heard the open submission call. And so we have a lot of good stuff that makes participating in the chat and in the expo itself that we hope beneficial to you in the audience as well. It's not just listening the whole time. We actually encourage active participation and asking of questions and offering thoughts, because again, it's important to us to strengthen that relationship and to help writers build a bigger audience of readers who will genuinely appreciate their work. Now, if you have questions, if you decide at some point during our fantastic awesomeness of the next 2 days that you would like to be a part of the expo next year, by all means, let us know. You can contact me, you can contact Matt, you can contact Summer. We have an email, buzzbookexpo@gmail.com. We all three of us have access to that email. You can, put in to participate, and we can send you the packet that we have developed, which explains what generally we're looking for in the presentations. And as I said, we're pretty flexible. Okay. But it explains what exactly we would need from you and what we're kind of looking for you to do during your segment of the presentation. We also put, we think, a fairly extensive and we hope comprehensive segment of the packet, which discusses ads. As I mentioned, each presentation is approximately 20 minutes, and there's a 10-minute break. What the ads are, and I guess the way you should think of them if you want to develop one for your, for us to use during the expo, think of them like book trailers. It's essentially what they are, with a lot of the approaches that publishers take, and they do a fantastic job, folks. Let me tell you, there are some really, really cool ads that we've gotten in BuzzBook Expo in these past years, and really looking forward to the ones that we got this year as well. They're essentially book trailers. There's what we like to have basically is an advertisement for the book that's coming out. They run, what would you say, Matt? Approximately 2-3 minutes, something about that.
Anywhere from, I mean, and they go anywhere from like 30 seconds to a minute to 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
In case you didn't hear Matt, he says they run from approximately 30 seconds to 1 minute, 2 minutes. And as I said, they're visually based, they're video. You can pre-record them, obviously, and send them to Matt. And Matt will make sure that they're formatted correctly, that that they're within the time frame and everything. And we run these ads like I think of them as commercials, but I think of them without that negative connotation of commercials. I think of them more as like movie trailers. That there's a really cool visual advertisements for upcoming books. Summer here, she says, as far as the guidelines show, they're 30 seconds to a minute, 2 minute tops for the ads. And we can do as many, as we can fit in between the different segments, leading up to the next presentation. We get, I would say, and Summer and Matt can correct me if I'm wrong, the most questions about the ads, which is why I wanted to address that in opening remarks, because I do think that it is a fun and interesting way to just remind folks in a very visual sense, since it is video, that these books are coming out. What we've tried to do, and thank God for Summer, because Summer's generally the one that handles this. What we try to do during the presentations and with the ads is collate, if that's the right word, or I guess what we try to do is put together a list of all the books that are discussed, so that if you happen to miss a title, you happen to miss an author, even if we can't provide you that information right then and there with the ad, although a lot of people do, a lot of people, like if you have a question in comments, we can address it then. But the BuzzBooks Expo website does try to provide the list of books that was discussed during this year's Expo. So if you do happen to miss something, usually by Monday, we will have the list up on the website of the books and the authors that were discussed, and you can print out a reading list right from there of books that you want to pick up and that you want to try out. As I mentioned, I like doing this expo. I feel that we're having fun. We're doing something fun, and we're doing something that I hope is seen in the spirit that it's done, that we're trying to bring together writers and readers and talk about the current books that are coming up. We discover a lot of good presses that way. And to be honest, there have been, if you're a new press and you want to build up your stable of writers, there's a lot of writers that are participating here, that they're hearing what you're saying, and they're determining from the information that you're giving us about the press, if they'd be a good fit for you. And as a presenter too, I think as a writer, if you do talk to people, you do talk to the publishers that present, and you do mention, hey, I saw you on the expo, then there's an in. So I think there's a lot of benefit to this sort of mutual coming together of writers and readers and editors and librarians and booksellers and other people, people who influence the reading trends, who influence what is happening in our genre, as well as just simply enjoying it. Amy mentions, as a reader, yes, that the ads are a great tool to ingrain that title and the gray matter, into reader's noggin, which I think is great. It's a visual reminder, I think, that we have some really cool titles from really cool people. And we've had all kinds of all different subgenres. We've had writers from all over the place come and talk about it. Come and talk about the books that they're doing. Erica Robin, another favorite of ours. She says the Expo panels and ads always crush my TBR and wallet, but I love it. Thank you. We love it too. We love when people are excited about the books that are coming up. And it's a good way, I think, to stay current with what's happening in our genre, at least in the small press arena of what we're doing. And truthfully, I think there's a lot of strength. The small press in horror, I believe, and then I'm gonna shut up after I say this, because I think we're getting very close to our first ad, which I'm going to show you. I agree with Stephen Kosniewski, by the way. I'm trying to keep up with comments as well, that Erica Robin is America's greatest national treasure. She is. She's very awesome. And Kosniewski's love for Erica Robin just completely derailed my train of thought. I remember what I was going to say. Sorry, folks. I do believe that the small press, particularly in our genre and in speculative fiction in general, I think that it is one of the backbone elements of our genre. I think that we have managed to survive and thrive as a genre as healthily as we have because of the small press. I think that horror could have taken some serious dives and not recovered nearly as well financially or socially as well as it has, if not for the small press. So I have a special place in my heart for small press publishers, and for the for strengthening. I believe in strengthening the small press as much as possible, because I believe that when we need it, and historically when we have needed it, it has been there to support this genre, to prop it up when everything everywhere else has been imploding and exploding. So I appreciate all of you that are here today, that are supporting these presses, that are supporting writers, that are excited to see what new titles we come out. That are coming out, and I appreciate all of the presenters who are taking time out of their schedules to talk to us about the books that they have coming out. And I especially appreciate Summer and Matt, because without them, I got to tell you, this would not happen. I honestly have the easiest job, and that's just interfacing with you folks. They do a lot of the heavy lifting behind the scenes, and it wouldn't happen without them. So thank you to everybody. And if you have any questions, we've got about 2 minutes before we kick off with our first set of ads. If you have any questions about BuzzBooks, let us know. Drop them in the comments. If we don't address them now, we can address them, at some point during the day. But feel free, again, as Brian pointed out, put question in the comments section and then post your question, and we will do our best to answer those questions for you. Anything? Any questions? I know there's I think there's like a second or two from when I say something to when you guys actually see it, which still weirds me out. It's like I'm skipping ahead in time. I'm one of those, tomorrow people. But if it seems like we're glossing over something, that's probably why but we will address it. Okay. So now I'm going to, yes, Brian, like that. Exactly, my love. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to pop out now and show you the first of the ads. And again, welcome to BuzzBooks 2023. Hi, everyone. It is now noon, and I'm going to be bringing Candice Nola in to the chat, and we're going to be talking about Uncomfortably Dark. So let me pop her into the. Hi, Candice. How you doing? Oh, okay, I'm getting used to the muting and the unmuting. Totally my fault. Um, and I'm also getting used to the formatting again. So look at us. Now we're two happy little heads. So how are you today?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. I'm excited. I'm excited that we're doing this. So I do have some questions about Uncomfortably Dark, and I understand that there's also a giveaway. Should we talk about the giveaway first, or should we
Sure.
keep them in suspense?
Up to you. It's your show.
I do like to keep people in suspense. We'll tell you at the end. Ha 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 ha.
There
Okay,
you
so tell me about Uncomfortably Dark. It is a Facebook group, I understand, for horror writers, for people who are writing dark stuff. So tell me a little bit about it.
go. It is. It's actually, well, it is a Facebook group now, but it's actually me and my entire brand.
Awesome.
It's what I write. It's what we now um, work on as a publishing house because that's new and I just started that last fall. But if you want to know anything about me or the work we do or the anthos, then you can find me under Uncomfortably Dark everywhere. Um, Twitter, Facebook group. There's a Patreon page, Blue Sky now, Instagram, the website. Of course, the website I think is what everybody knows the most of right now. That was one of the first moves that I made when I came out as a writer after I published my first. And it is now basically a indie horror community website. So you're going to go out there and you're going to find reviews, author interviews, cover reveals, exclusives. There are pages for indie horror authors and publishers and presses and all their website links and podcast links, and you'll find links for reviewers and cover artists and editors and formatters. It's meant to be one stop, whether you're a reader, author, publisher, no matter what it is that you need, you can find something out there that you might need.
That's
Reviewers, editors, whatever else you might need is out there. So yeah.
that's fantastic. So there's basically a lot of um, interaction between the writers that are part of Uncomfortably Dark and the people that they would ostensibly be working with.
Mhm.
Um, did you find it difficult because again because BuzzBooks is we're working on expanding again that those kind of relationships between writers and readers and people that they're working with as well. Do you find it difficult to I guess aggregate is the word I'm looking for, to build these lists of connections between people? Like, where if somebody wanted to do that, where would they start?
Um, Ask. It was a lot of work. It took a long time to really make a complete list. And I say complete very loosely because it's still incomplete. I'm still in the process of trying to add everyone that has requested to be added. There's probably about 110 people listed on the website now for authors alone. Publishers and small presses right now, I believe we're up to 45. Artists and reviewers, editors right now, there's not quite as many of them, maybe about 15 to 20 of each. But I put a post out and then I kept posting about, hey, I'm going to do this. If you want added, let me know. And these are the requirements you need to meet to be listed. as an author, unfortunately, I had to put some sort of requirement on there for you to be
Mhm.
listed, or otherwise I would be listing thousands of people and I wouldn't get anything done. So for you to be listed, you have to have at least one standalone novel or novella in a wider platform that people can find, like Amazon or something like that.
Mhm.
At least one. And it can't be in Antho as much as I would love to include them because they're already sort of listed by the publishers and the presses that put those out anyway.
Right.
But if I listed every single person that was in an Antho, like I just would not have space. So you have to have at least one standalone.
Okay.
But I just kept posting and reminding folks, hey, I have this out here and I'm going to launch this site in June. And if you want on, go ahead and let me know. And people really let me know. Many ways, some many times over, because they were like, hey, I'm not on yet. I'm not on yet. And I'm like, I'm one person. I work 20 hours a day. But we got a lot of people who wanted on. And actually, on the website now, there is a link and there's a form on the website as well that if you're not on and you want to be on, you can just fill out the form and say, hey, I'm an author, I'm a publisher, I'm a reviewer, I'm this, I'm that. Can you add me here? And I'll go in as soon as possible and I will add you. So
That's fantastic. Now, what kind of guidelines do you have for? Do you have this? Because I know that you mentioned, and for good reason, that there's certain uh, guidelines, I guess, for writers to be a member. What about for publishers? And do you extend the same thing
publishers,
like reviewers
mhm,
and things like that too?
yeah. So a publisher or a small press needs to be a legit publisher that we can find online that has a
Mhm.
website with an online store. You have to have somewhere online that people can actually look you up and see your work and have links to where you can purchase your work. And you also need to have your submission page listed
Okay. Do
because
they
that's
have
one
to
of the
be
main things people want to know. If you're a
right?
publisher or press, they want to be able to click that link, it'll take you to their website. But the next thing I want them to be able to easily find is, are you open for submissions? What are
Mhm.
your guidelines? How does your publishing house work? How does your press work? So I really want them to have at least one link that will take them to how they work. Like, what do we need to do if we want to submit? So
Does that? Oh, and so that would include then um, people obviously that take unsolicited submissions. Do you also list people who take only solicited submissions? Like, and do you list people who are
everybody,
not open for submissions, or you try to
yeah,
stick with people who are?
they're all there. If you're a legitimate publisher or a press and you've let me know that you want on, everyone is listed as long as you have those things out there. I just want it to be easily found where we can get the info, whether you're open at this time or not open at this time. I just want you to have a link that will let us know, hey, this is how we work. This is our submission process. We're open, we're not. We open in June, we open here. I just want the information to be out there because I feel like if you are a legitimate publisher or a
Mhm.
press, that's one of the most important things you should have on your page next to your work. Like, other than, hey, here's our books. Okay, but
Right.
how do we contact you if we want to work with you?
I
So
agree. I agree. It's funny because over time, there's certain things that you just get in the habit of looking for with publishers and guidelines, and um, I personally am always a little hesitant if I can't find a website, and I know that a lot of newer generations of writers do almost everything on social media, and I get that there should be a social media presence,
yeah.
but I'm a little hesitant if there's no website. I'm a little hesitant if they don't mention whether they pay you or not. That's always kind of good to know. If you can't find the submission guidelines or any indication that they take submissions, unless they're the kind of publisher that is like an invite only kind of thing or something like that. So I can dig that. I just want to put it out to people in the chat. If you have questions for Candace while we're discussing things, put question in the comment section and ask away. Ask your questions. You don't have to wait for you don't have to wait for us to be like, hey, where are all the questions? But just put them in the chat and we'll get them up as we're discussing discussing Uncomfortably Dark. Do you? My next question, because as I was thinking about this, since we have so many readers and reviewers, and is there any kind of mailing list or anything with Uncomfortably Dark that lets people know what's coming out, when there's new updates, things like that?
Yep. If you go on the website at any given point in time, you will be blasted with a pop-up that's like, hey, join our newsletter. It's right there. It drops down, I believe, within 5 seconds or so once you're on. The newsletter goes out every Sunday late afternoon, and I blast those out on socials as well. And if you click on that at the top of it, it will actually have an option for you to join up. So you can join that, and you can do the drop down. You can also become a member of the website too. And every time I do an update out there, or the newsletter launches, or there's something new on the blog, you'll get an email that says, hey, we did this, and here's what you have coming up. So yeah, you can find us pretty much however you want. Newsletter, email, go on the site.
That's great. That's awesome. We do have a question from Summer. If I can get rid of the little pop-ups in my way. Here we go. Candace, you are a relentlessly positive and kind person. Do you ever find it difficult at times with our occasionally cranky genre? That's a good question.
Yeah. Often. How do I answer this? So one, I don't spend a lot of time online, even though it looks like I do. I have a time frame.
Mm-hmm.
I have certain things that I'm going to post a couple times a day. And if anyone knows me, you know what those things are. I have your morning post. I have your drink your water. And then a couple of times a week,
Mm-hmm.
there's a post about the website, the newsletter, what's new, what's about to come out or whatever. It hurts when I go out there and there's a lot of just drama and negativity and toxicness, because I feel at home here. And over the last couple of years, this community as a whole has become like my tribe. This is my home. Whether, I don't care if everyone else in the world likes you or this person, that one. This is my home. And yeah, you're always going to have those few. Like, there's always going to be a few folks that are just miserable or unhappy or just negative. But you have that in any family, don't you? You always got the cousin no one talks to, or the uncle that shows up at every family barbecue. You can't
creepy uncle.
Some of it, and you have to just be aware that you are part of a wider community. It's not just about you and your 5 friends or your 10 friends or your little inner circle that you work with. It's about the authors, the editors, the publishers, the readers, everybody as a whole, everybody that supports us or shares us. And I think the best thing we can do, one, is empathy.
Yes.
We've all had bad days.
Mm-hmm.
We all are human at the end of the day. We have issues. Some of us have more than others. We have things no one knows about. We have things we don't speak on and we don't post about. at the end of the day, I think we need to keep that in mind. And maybe sometimes the best thing we can do is just not say anything, not get involved, let it play itself out, because maybe that person really did just have a bad day. Yeah, okay, maybe they said something they shouldn't have, maybe they lashed out, but tell me one time in your life that you haven't lashed out at
Mhm.
somebody because you had a bad day. I mean, it happens. The problem comes in is when everybody wants to power on top of that and just keep it going, keep it going, keep it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let it go. Remember the fact that, hey, maybe they had a bad day. Maybe there is something wrong that we don't know about. Maybe this is a more personal thing between this person and this person that we have no business involved in. We
Mhm.
need to be as supportive as we can be. And sometimes that also means just scrolling on by.
I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head with the idea of empathy. That um, because we're kind of all in this together, that it's good to sometimes, I think, consider um, that while there are certain things that I do believe there's no compromising on, there are many, 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 many things, a lot of which I think formulates the drama in our genre often, that you can try, at least try to look at the other person's side and maybe meet in the middle, or like you said, consider that there may be factors you don't know about, things like that. We have another question from Dan. Any advice for a writer that's looking to publish for the first time? Want to go the small press route?
Um, do your homework, first of
Mhm.
all. Um, look into them, look into the people that you might want to approach and work with. Find out what they like, what their publishing house is interested in. Not every publisher out there wants to publish the same, the same, the same.
Mhm.
Some only do weird stuff, some only do absurd, some only do comedic. Like, find out what it is that they want or what it is they want for that year. Find out what their submission rules are and follow them down to what font they want you to use, what font size, if
Mhm.
they want single line or double space. There are reasons for all of that. So
Mhm.
don't send them something that just doesn't follow their guidelines at all. You don't know what those reasons are. It's not up to you to decide that, but make sure that you're following what they're asking of you. And that also speaks to, are they going to want to work with you once they see your work? Did you
Mhm.
follow their guidelines? Did you submit it the way they're asking you to? Because if you can't submit that, then what makes them think you're going to submit your manuscript the right way? Or,
Good point. Good
you know,
point. Or
do
follow
your
any.
research, but make sure that you also put the work in on your end. Submit something as cleanly as you can. Make sure it's edited
Mhm.
several times by someone other than yourself. Trust me, I know. My first novel was a disgrace. I actually had to pull it down because I did it myself, and I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, no, no." Um, do your work, put the time in, and put something out as cleanly as you possibly can. And if you're going to submit it to somebody, make sure that it is the absolute best representation of yourself, because that's exactly what it is.
I absolutely agree. We have time for one more question from Chris Ryan. It's Candace, you seem to be doing so much. How do you prioritize, organize, and keep projects moving forward? Is there something that works best for you?
Yeah, I don't sleep. Seems to be working out great. Um, all joking aside, I do work about 19 hours a day. My day starts at 5 a.m. I go to sleep between 12:30 and 1 in the morning.
Oh my.
I have a day job, so that's why my schedule is the way it is, because I start reading for reviews and blurbs and whatnot at 5. I log on for my day job, I get through that job, and then I go right back into the writing, the publishing, the editing, whatever it is. Um, Time management skills are great. Mine suck. So I have three massive whiteboards that I list everything on, and I have one for the editing business, I have one for the publishing house, and I have one for my own stuff, whether it's conventions, appearances, blurb requests, work that I'm on. And I switch hats multiple times a day. Like I make sure that I touch everything that I need to every single day. So
That's a lot. It's a lot, and kudos to you because it is not easy. It is not easy to do that. Before we let you go, we do want to mention that Candace is offering a giveaway. Okay, and I want to make sure I have the details here. It is there are 3 bundles that are available in the giveaway, so 3 different people can win this. They're all the same. It's paperback copies of the award-winning Baker's Dozen and The Generator, which is a collaboration.
So we have.
Okay. Yep. Matt says he has.
With the images and everything in there.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. So there's the giveaway for you if you're interested. What you need to do is send to buzzbookexpo@gmail.com. In the subject line, put uncomfortable, so we know that it's for this giveaway, and also because it makes us giggle. And in addition to the paperbacks, you also get some swag too. I understand some merch swag and logo swag in the email. And this is important, folks. We need you, in addition to putting uncomfortable in the subject line, we want you to put your name and mailing info, or else we won't know where to send it. So 3 different people can win. I believe Summer does a drawing from the emails that we get. So it is the Baker's Dozen and The Generator, and cool free merch swag. And we need an email to buzzbookexpo@gmail.com. Subject line uncomfortable. We need your name and mailing address. Thank you so much, Candace, for doing this. It was lovely to have you. And we're going to take a little break. We'll do some more ads, and then we will be coming back with our self-publishing panel.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to throw up some ads. I'm sorry, folks. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. We're going to put some ads up for your viewing enjoyment, and we will be right back. Hi, everyone. It is 12:30, and we are going to be bringing on the self-publishing panel. I'm very excited about this. This is a new track that we've added, and I think that it's an important thing for us to discuss, just to make sure that we get out there some of the trials and tribulations of self-published authors. We're welcoming Kaylee Dobb from Happy Goat Horror Reviews.
Hello.
And we've got Kenzie Jennings,
Hey.
author extraordinaire, Scott Cole, all around awesome guy. So thank you very much for being part of the presentation here. I have some questions about self-publishing, but don't let my questions run roughshod over anything you guys have to say. If you guys have questions too for the self-publishing panel, remember, put question in the comment section and ask your question. And so I think to start off, I have in my notes, just so don't mind if I keep looking off screen here. I have in my notes some stuff that I'd like to talk about with you guys. Scott, you do formatting, cover design, and you self-publish works yourself. Kenzie, you recently started doing self-publishing. And Kaylee, I understand that you reviewing books that are self-published, and I think it's important to address the outdated idea that self-publishing is not as viable a publishing method as, say, traditional publishing. What have you all put in place to reinforce the dispelling of the rumor that somehow self-publishing is not as good as traditional publishing, for lack of a better way to say it? Smack you all down into set. I'm kidding. Because I'll tell you, it's an unfair assumption, right? That self-publishing is lacking in some way. So do you have certain processes that you put in place, certain editors you use, certain guides you go by to make sure that that the work is not that you're comfortable with it, getting it out into the public sphere? Is that an easier question to?
I think maybe we were all just hesitating to see who wanted to go first. So I guess since I already started talking, I'll just jump in. I would say one thing that I focus on being an artist and graphic designer is trying to do your best to put out a professional looking product. The first thing that anybody is going to see about your book is the cover. And as much as people like to say, you know, that the cover doesn't matter, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, we all kind of do it, right. Even if it's on a subconscious level. And like I said, that's the first thing that anybody's going to know about your book, because they're going to see a little thumbnail. It should stand out in some way. It should have some nice cover art. It should have nice design. And those are two different things that need to work well together. And then once you crack that cover open, you want to have a nice looking interior as well. So for me, and granted, that's one of my backgrounds is in graphic design. That's an important thing. Obviously, the writing needs to be good too. You want to have something that's been edited. You want to have something that has not just been edited by one person. You want to send it off to pre-readers, get multiple opinions from different people, and just revise. Just make the book as good as it can possibly be, so that it can stand up against something that is traditionally published by a press.
Good answer. I agree. You guys have anything else to add?
I do. Another thing that to add on to what Scott said, it really helps also to have, I mean, I hate to say this word, not validation, I guess, but blurbs from people who have done this and established who can attest to your work, you know, and help you with readership, that plays a big part as well. So
That makes sense.
From a promotional standpoint, I suppose, because I'm reviewing a lot of books, I never meant for Happy Goat Horror to be an indie review site specifically, but that's the way it went because I read so much indie horror. So I do put the occasional traditionally published book there, but it's mostly indie. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, the notion that there's like lower quality or that there's something missing from a self-published book or a small press release is absolute nonsense to me. Sometimes we come across books that have formatting issues, like, for example, if it's like a self-published author's first novel and they've clearly had to publish it themselves and it's their first go at formatting. I'd say maybe there's a load of YouTube tutorials on how to do that, and like you can Google what the industry standard is if you want to try and replicate the margins and that kind of thing. So if I could offer any advice, maybe something like that. But in general, if I review books, the rule is not to be slating about, like, if that's like a constant issue in the book, it has to be mentioned. But I do tell anyone that's writing a review to make sure that you're constructive with that, and then you still talk about what you actually liked about the story as well, because the formatting is just one part. Yeah, I love self-published books. I'm always reading them.
I do think that there is something to be said about professional presentation, and I do think that it seems to me that a lot of self-published authors, they're doing all the right things. They're working hard to make sure that they're bringing their A game, not just in the content that they're writing, but in the presentation of that content. And Tom has a question here. What made all of you decide to self-publish as a publishing method, you know, as a mode of publishing? That's a good question.
I like this question because I ask myself this sometimes too. I jumped into doing it because I wanted a book out by the end of the year before I turned 50. It's kind of like, okay. And if I was to work with a traditional publisher, which, you know, I probably could have for this book, it would have taken a lot longer. So it was a matter of timing and my personal need to have it out by the end of the year. So I thought, well, it's still going to take a lot of work, of course, but I wouldn't have to be in line waiting for the date of publication from, you know, the schedule for the traditional publisher. So that's primarily why I got into it.
There certainly is I think a lot more control over publishing schedules and the like. Candace asks, which is perfect segue into the next great question. What are some of the benefits of self-publishing over working with a small press or going traditional?
Being able to actually write what you want.
Yes.
I'm sure that a lot of us here will be Adam Neville fans. Any excuse to bring up Adam Neville. I love him so much. But he was with a traditional publisher, with a literary agent, and he decided to go the self-publishing route instead. So he abandoned all of the perks that came with that. And I'm pretty sure he said it was because they were trying to steer him like away from horror or into a type of horror or whatever. So yeah, you can be more creative and put what you want out.
Yeah, kind of like what you just said, Kaylee, and you touched on, Mary. Like you said, it's being able to have total control over what you put out is probably the biggest benefit. And also kind of going back to the last question for a second, I've done a combination of small press and self-publishing, and that was kind of my intent, was to sort of do this hybrid thing. And I have some books where I do have that control. I have done my own cover art. The books that I've put out myself, I have done my own layouts and things like that. So I can get things looking the way I want. And like Kenzie said, timing. If you work with a press, you might have to wait, you know, at minimum a couple months. possibly even a couple years. It depends on the press. It depends on the schedule and what they have lined up already. But if you're self-publishing, and in my case where I'm able to, handle all that stuff myself, I can get something together pretty quickly and get it out into the market. So
We have another question from Tom. Do you feel that self-publishing is going to continue to grow and possibly overtake traditional publishing at some point? It's a good question.
I think there are some authors that are safe. Traditional published authors, like, they're not going to sell fewer books, like Stephen King, for example. Everything he puts out until death is going to be a #1 bestseller. I can tell you from personal experience that even though a lot of the work, if you're a self-published author, involves you have to have a social media presence, and I would advise people to build a community around themselves and the books they like as well. But if you're pitching to agents these days, they ask you how many, a lot of them will ask you how many followers you have on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. So I'm not really sure how beneficial an agent is for you in the first place if you already have to have a considerable following for them to take you. I'm not talking down traditional publishing because I think it's great, but what was the question?
Do you think it's sorry, I took it away too soon. Do you feel that it's going to continue to grow and overtake traditional publishing at some point?
I think it will match it.
Yes,
I would tend to agree there. I've got actually a few more questions popping up. I do want to slip in a quick question though, real quick, because I've had this conversation with authors like Brian Keene, Brian Smith, where they have a large enough following that they could move from a hybrid model, say, like Scott mentioned, over to probably entirely just self-publishing and make a good career on just doing that. And my argument, I guess, was always, I don't have that kind of following. Would it still be beneficial for me? Because at what point do you feel that it is an effect, or I guess, what do you have to have in place to make it an effective and, say, financially viable option to entirely self-publish? And then I promise I'll let other people ask their questions too.
I think you need that following that Kaylee was just talking about. It's tough. it's tough.
Sorry, Scott.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say, participating like in the community is a big thing. I know people don't want to spend hours online, but like events as well, writing and author events, book events. I found that personally really beneficial just for running a review site. You get to know everyone, and everyone's very supportive in this community. So baby steps.
But it's still as it's always been, as long as I've been alive, I think it's still getting out there and meeting individual people, that one-to-one contact, you'd say?
Yeah, a mixture of both, I think. Like online and in person if you can.
That's great. Candace has another question. And again, if I'm going too fast and you guys want to address questions that have already popped up, feel free. I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to say what they want to say. Candace's question is, what are some common issues that you find small presses have when working with one that deter you from wanting to work with a publisher? Like what, I guess, yeah, that's a good question. What would cause you to, because the small press has these kinds of issues, that would make you not want to work with them?
For me, it would be exactly what I said before. It would be timing. But that's also with communication as well. If I'm working with a publisher who doesn't respond in a timely manner, so it encompasses all of that. So
yeah, that's a big thing. Communication. I don't know, kind of going back to what I was saying before, like maybe putting out shoddy looking products. The timing issue, as Kenzie said, you may have a publisher that you would love to work for or work with, but maybe they've got a 2 or 3 year backlog of books already scheduled, and you don't want to wait that long. So
yeah, there's a publisher I've been dying to work with, but I know that their backlog is huge. In fact, it got to be the point where the person said, I'm stopping for a second because I want to work on my own writing and my own stuff, and then I'll get back to it. So yeah, absolutely.
And Scott, you bring up a good point about that it's possible for small presses as well to put out less professional products. I mean, just in the 20 some odd years that I've been doing this, there have been publishers who've put stuff out without page numbers, with typos, in the title or the author name. So it is, I mean, there is some, I think, consideration there. Like Candace said in her presentation about making sure if you are working with small presses that you're working with reputable ones that people respect. Chris asks, once you get the content to a professional level, how do you break through the flood of books coming out and find your readership?
That's a fantastic question. not one that there's any simple answer to, I don't think. To some extent, there's a little bit of chance involved, a little bit of luck. Some people, might be selling a book a week, and then all of a sudden somebody, a reviewer on TikTok has a video go viral, and then overnight they're selling thousands of copies of that book. So that could happen. Go ahead, somebody else can.
Oh, sorry. I was just to add to that question. Is there anything that any of you do that's maybe unique or different than what the traditional wisdom of promoting something is? Is there anything that you want to try that's different to get the word out there to find that readership?
Can I offer advice? When you're requesting book reviews from anyone, websites, so if you just find people on Goodreads or Amazon or whatever, you can approach basically anyone and ask them. Do it early. If you've got a book coming out, ask for the review as far in advance as you possibly can, because I've had to close review requests temporarily because my backlog is unbelievable. Like, you wouldn't. I think that the TBR pile is about to become sentient. But it's even so I'm making my way through the novels. I've set aside like special reading time for all those now. But even so, if somebody still approaches me and goes, I have a 100-page novella coming out in 6 months, I'll go, okay, I'll go on, I'll take it, because I can probably fit that in, or even a short story. Yeah, so I would just say try and get as many people on board review-wise as early as you can. And the way you do that is you offer a free e-copy of the book. Don't ask someone to follow a link, buy it, pre-order it or whatever, because they won't get it in time. And then even if it's not going to be a website review, it's Amazon, I would say, that probably makes the most difference to your sales, right?
Yeah, generally, I mean, depending on, I guess, but I would say definitely for self-publishing, I would think, right?
Yeah, because when you hit, it's the number of reviews on Amazon and not what the star rating is, where they start actually pushing it out to the people. So even the bad reviews will help you. So don't be afraid of bad reviews either. Just let as long as they're doing it.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. And it's a good thing you brought up, because I think a lot of writers don't send stuff to reviewers that far in advance, because they think, well, by the time, if they review it now and the book's not coming out for 9 months, then they'll forget about it. But the fact of the matter is I think that's always been the traditional wisdom, is to send, get those copies to reviewers as early as possible and let the reviewers fit them into their schedule. They know how to do that. You trust them to do that,
I'm sure that other reviewers have got different systems to me, so I can't speak for every reviewer in the world, but I try to do mine in the order that they come in. And if something really short comes in, I'll squeeze it in. But if someone says, oh, my novel's coming out in 3 weeks, I'm like, I've got a 6-month backlog. I schedule the reviews on my website, and I've got them scheduled up through February right now.
Wow.
So, and I'll still put extra ones in if the book is coming out and I can get to it earlier, and I'll put it, like, say a book's coming out in December, I'm scheduled till February, but if I can get it done by December, I'll just put an extra review up that week to get it in for the release date. But yeah, early for me is preferable, because then I know that I can actually, because the reason that so many people review books like this, we don't get paid or anything. So it's because we love your books and we want to help you promote them. So if we can do it for the release date, I say
Absolutely.
we. This is the royal we for all.
Really?
Well, there's a community of book reviewers, so I
there
think
is, and we love you.
and one thing I would just add on to that is, I mean, it's a good point to talk about the timing, because we were discussing that before. Like, one of the benefits of self-publishing is being able to get something out relatively quickly, but then, if you sort of jam things up with the reviewers, that's a problem. And I will also say, as you approach reviewers, be nice, be gracious.
Yes.
I hear tons of horror stories from reviewers constantly about how, they have a backlog like Kaylee has. And
TikTok's full of those sorts of scandals. Every day it's like something. I'm going, what are you doing to your reviewers?
Who are these people? Don't respond to bad reviews and let them get to it when they get to it.
Yeah.
We have one more. We have time for
weekly. Please don't message us weekly going, have you read it yet?
No.
You don't know the pressure.
What we could use, maybe, I think, in this is a reviewer etiquette panel. It was like what you should and should not do when it comes to reviews and reviewers. It seems like there might need to be a refresher course there. Okay, so we have time for one more question from Millie. Professional editors can be expensive. Are there options for those not yet able to make that kind of investment?
I have a suggestion, and I'm saying this from what I do for my day job, is to find a good English teacher or English professor to work with you. And it's sort of this, you can make any sort of arrangement with them. If you have a friend who does this, even better. But yeah, it will save you an inordinate amount of money. And you by doing that, you can also recommend their services to other people too, which will help. So I've saved a lot of money from that. So
that's a good idea.
I paid them. Oh, don't get me wrong, I paid them, but it was nowhere near the amount that you'd get for somebody who's charging like 10 cents a word or whatever,
Right.
Yeah. And kind of like something I said earlier, if you can get multiple people to look at it, that will help you too, because different people will pick up on different things. The first 5 people that read a book might completely miss certain typos, and then the 6th person to read it will be like, well, what are you doing here? Look at this, I caught 10 on this page, so.
Yeah, all great advice. Thank you guys so much for being on this panel, and there's still more questions coming in the chat. Sorry we don't have time for them, but if you guys pop into the chat and you want to answer them, they're keeping the questions coming. But this was really great. Thank you guys so much
Thanks for having us.
for being a part of BuzzBooks Expo. And
so
we will take a quick break, and then we will be back with our next presenters. Bye. It's so sad when they drop out, like one by one. All right, folks, we'll be right back. Now I can talk. Hi, everyone. Now that I've unmuted myself. We are back with French Press. I'm going to bring Kaylee back in along with Stephen Kazanowski, and we are going to talk French Press.
Hey, everybody. Okay. So, like Mary said, I am Stephen Kazanowski. I'm the chief editor of French Press. And with me today, the author of Corpsing, head goat of Happy Goat Horror, and French Press's marketing guru, Mrs. Kaylee Dobbs.
Oh, I still haven't got used to hearing Mrs.
I didn't put that in the notes because I knew I'd be able to get you with that one.
I know the feeling. I know. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah, congratulations, Mary.
Thank you, Mrs. King.
Oh, thank you. And congratulations to you as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to pop out.
Okay. So as usual, we have like 8 items to get through and like 20 minutes to get through them. I don't know why I do this to myself, but yay. Let's talk first about our newest releases from French Press. So I'm going to talk about our second to last release, which is the lovely Illusions of Isolation by Mr. Brennan LaFaro. And this cover that you can see here, I don't know if you guys know this, but one of the committee members of the Buzz Book Expo is actually a great graphic designer, and they did this cover. So we just want to say thank you, Summer Cannon, for doing this cover. No, I'm just screwing around. Of course, that was Matt Wilderson. With the lovely Matt Wilderson cover, including the Simpsons couch on the back. If you guys have a copy and did not know that, that was a little Easter egg for my benefit, apparently. So about this book. This book was a baby of last year's Buzz Book Expo. So we opened up for submissions last year. I'm not going to say I never heard of Brennan. I heard of him. I did not know him. We got this over the transom, which is a word I might use a couple times this presentation, meaning the slush pile, the unsolicited submissions. I'll probably call that over the transom if it comes up again. So this came in. Kaylee read it. Kaylee does not get scared by anything, and apparently Kaylee was terrified by one of the stories in this. And she said, take it and read it. And I said, I'll read it, but I hate everything. And I read it and I liked every story. So I didn't hate it. Kaylee was scared and she doesn't get scared. And I was like, damn it, we're going to have to publish it. It's too much of a work of genius. And I always say, the only way you're guaranteed to get a slot with French Press is to be a close personal friend or an unadulterated genius. And I was actually terrified by a different story. I was genuinely scared. This book contains a home invasion story, which was just beautiful. And I already told Brennan I'm stealing it and making it a novella, and he said, vaya con Dios. Kaylee's favorite story was an experimental piece written entirely in Post-it notes between a mother and a son who don't quite get to see one another. This also contains quiet horror, sci-fi horror, a rather lengthy dark fantasy novella. This will scratch your every itch, and yes, it also contains a story called Scratch. So you knew just from looking at the table of contents that this would scratch your every itch. And the other great thing, big announcement, coming soon, September 17th. I just spoke to narrator extraordinaire Marnie Carger. She says we are still on track for that, but September 17th we should be getting an audiobook of Illusions of Isolation. So check it out. And I'm going to hand it over to Kaylee for our most recent release.
Yes, I was planning to share my screen to show the cover of this because my physical oh, thank God for that, Steve. My cousin was at my house yesterday, told her to pick any book to borrow, and did not hide my copy. So sorry. But it's The Thing Under Your Bed by Stephen Kosniewski. It's a really, really scary novella about a little girl, and one night there's a horrible voice from under her bed, and the thing under there apparently hates her, wants to kill her and her entire family. And it's I loved it, and I personally think that, is it my favorite Cos book? I think it is. It's my favorite one that you've written. Like, although I also love The Perfectly Fine House, but of a solo release, I think that it's my favorite. I think it's the scariest one, and it took me back to, like, your childhood fear route, where you don't want to put your foot off the edge of the bed as you're asleep in case something grabs it. And the setup and like the way the story is told was like really scary to me, because like you weren't quite sure what the rules of the monster are, or the whatever it is, but you see they start coming in, so I don't know, that's the best kind of monster horror for me, is when you kind of know the rules of the monster and you got to try and problem solve your way out of the thing, but you can't. You're trapped on a bed. So yeah, I think it's really great. It's a fairly quick read if you're like me and you get absolutely hooked into a novella. The hours fly by. So thanks for the nightmares, Stephen.
You are very welcome. And I believe you just reached out to our good friend Drew Stepek, and that should be going up on Godless
Yes.
at some point. I don't want to, that's not an official, I guess it's an official announcement because now we're committed, but I don't know what date. So anyway, it is time for our giveaway. We might be on time. It's 1:06 and we did 2 of our things, so we might be good for time. Anyway, our giveaway is the other big book that came out from French Press, which was, of course, the Imagine award-winning Your Mind by Mrs. Summer Cannon. Twisty, dangerous, sexy, and tense, according to the legendary Jonathan Janz. And a lot of love for this book, well deserved in my humble opinion. Which, again, a work of unadulterated genius from a close personal friend. That's how you get into French Press, one of those 2 things. We are
together.
Preferably both of them together. We have audiobooks. Audiobooks for Your Mind came out this year. We are going to give away, and I'm not going to limit it. We do kind of have a technical limitation, which is 25, but we can just order more. So I'll just say, if you want an audiobook of Your Mind, and again, so if it's 2027 and you're just watching this for the first time and we're all still alive and the world hasn't exploded, reach out to one of us via social media. We'll get you the audiobook. For the purposes of BuzzBook Expo, send an email to buzzbookexpo@gmail.com, subject line Your Mind. And we don't need your address or anything like that. And but I am sorry to say this is limited to the US and the UK. So all we need is, it can be a blank email, and in the subject body is either I'm US or I'm UK. I'm afraid we cannot support international right now. That's just the way Audible is. But yeah, very excited for to give away some Audible tokens of this newly minted award-winning novel, brilliant witchcraft. We talked about it last year. Go back and watch last year's BuzzBook where we introduced it. Next, I want to talk about a design that we did. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but one of the committee members for BuzzBook Expo is actually a graphic designer. And we were in a pinch and we needed this done really quick. And in just like 24 hours, this person got us a new design. So we just want to say thank you to Mary San Giovanni. I'm just going around. It was, of course, Matt Wildison again. So let's kick it over to Kaylee to talk about what is now being done. Yeah, you can keep it up, please. What is now being done with this design.
Okay, so over on our Redbubble store, as well as the other merchandise currently available with the other designs for Brainita Jones and my memory's gone blank.
French Press.
Oh, of course it was. Sorry, yes, the French Press Redbubble store. We now also have this delightful design, which is a rip on my actual favorite meme of all time. I love it. Where you can find a whole host of products now. So that we have, shirts and other items of clothing, stationery, and mugs and all of that good stuff with this lovely little design printed on it. Had a whale of a time doing those because I got to look at this little ghost fella the whole time.
Yeah. So yeah, get over to our Redbubble store. If you don't have the direct link, I'm sure Summer will have it in the recap. It's also on the French Press website. I just put it all up. Oh, we have a question. Steven. Oh, Candace Nola. Who is your favorite author and why is it me? You know something, Candace? I was sitting there when you were doing your presentation, and I was going to ask you, why is Pittsburgh the worst city in the country? And it's why is it because you put French fries on sandwiches? And I didn't, because I said I'm going to let Candace Nola have her moment in the sun, and you do this to me. The answer is my favorite author is probably working today, probably David Wong, or I guess he goes by Jason Pargan now. I devour his books. I love everything in the John Dies at the End series, probably except for John Dies at the End. I thought that was kind of an early. I didn't think that was as good as the sequels. And his new series, the sci-fi one, I cannot recall what it's called, but yeah, he's one of my few insta buys, and probably Brian and Mary. But then you get into I have a bunch of friends. Yes, I have a bunch of friends that are Instapies too. Okay, Candace Noah. On a more serious note, what do you look for in submissions when you decide to publish something? I was not kidding. Kaylee can answer her part of that, but I hate everything I read. I see so much crap, and I unless I have a professional reason to push through it, um, I will just stop reading stuff when I don't like it. So just the prose has to be on point. There has to be a point to the story. Um, there are definitely works. You know what? Here's another answer that kind of combines the two questions. Another person I really, really love, but also kind of a friend, Jeff Strand. He immediately catches you. The prose is always on point. It's humorous. It draws you into the story. He has this really sharp way of being like, the world's very ordinary. And then by the end of the first chapter, there's some crazy twist. So do that. Have really clean prose. Have a really great story. What do you look for, Kaylee?
I either just need to be hooked by the writing itself, and if I love the writing, then the story is kind of like secondary to me, or I need to be really hooked into the story, like one or the other, preferably both. But I have like personal favorite genres, but I wouldn't like rule anything out or not like something because it's outside of my favorite genres or anything. It's just, I guess, just yeah, getting on nicely with the writing style, I suppose. And I'm quite character centric as well. So if something's got a really amazing plot, but I don't care about the characters at all, then I find it hard to care. But yeah, I'm not as picky as you, that's for sure.
Which is what makes us work well together. Millie says, "Who is an author you dream of publishing?" Oh boy, that's a good. Oh, I know. Go ahead. I know Adam Neville, right?
I was gonna say Kit Power,
Kid
actually.
Power. Okay. All right.
That might
Yeah.
shock you. I've never mentioned him before.
Yes, we dream of one day publishing Kit or Adam. So guys, get in touch with us. Um. Okay. Yeah, we got. Oh, Candace. What is coming next for French Press? I'm glad you asked, Candace. That's an excellent segue. I'm like, okay, we've got 6 minutes to do the next two announcements. Okay. Our next upcoming release is The Perfectly Fine Neighborhood. That is going to be releasing to the public on October 1st. That is for the people who did not back our Kickstarter. This is featuring such legendary authors as Mr. Brian Keene, the aforementioned Mr. Jeff Strand, Mr. Bev Vincent, and of course, Miss Candace Nola, the uncomfortably dark one herself, coming in with a heart wrenching talk about bleeding on the fucking page story from Candace Nola. My God, that's going to be the one people are talking about. Although I think, well, I've already told you. That's all right. We don't have to say that on the air. I think Kaylee's is probably going to be the one that people like the best. So the Perfectly Fine Neighborhood. I finished editing the manuscript early this morning, like 1 a.m. It's up on KDP. It is waiting for a cover. As soon as I get the cover, it is going live. It is going out to our Kickstarters. They will all have the book. I think I can make it happen that everybody will have the book before the wide release. Wide release will be October 1st. So this is, of course, a story, an anthology set in the world of Wiley Young and my The Perfectly Fine House, where ghosts are real, everyday, commonplace, and uninteresting, and how that affects all of society to just have ghostly voters and ghostly caretakers of your children and all that sort of thing. So that being said, here's the announcement I'm guessing you all came here for. I'm assuming there are a lot of aspiring authors in the crowd. We, French Press, are going to be opening 2 novels, novellas, and collections over the transom. See, that's called a segue, Jason Sizemore. I see you in the chat. We are going to open for 7 days this year. So that gives you until, we'll call it an even 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday, September 16th. So what you want to do is send us a query letter, 1-page synopsis, and the entire manuscript, the completed, finished, fully perfect manuscript to FrenchPressPub@hotmail.com. You will use the subject line BuzzBook Expo query. That is the only way we're going to look at it. Don't use that subject line. Find out what happens to you. Fuck around and find out. Now, I want to remind all of our watchers here who I've been a little bit harsh. I know Kaylee is the sweet one. That's how we work. Fire and ice. It's fire and ice here at French Press. I want to remind you all, I never met Brennan LaFaro. I had no opinion of him one way or the other. I was vaguely familiar with him from being in this business. I published him because his work was just that good. It could happen to you. So first, I'm going to give you my manuscript wish list. I am looking for primarily sci-fi horror. I am actually looking for the next sci-fi epic. If you have the Dune of horror, the next Harrow the Ninth of horror, send it to me. If it's a 300,000 word piece that nobody else is looking for, but you have crafted an immense, intricate story, send it to me. I want to see it. Otherwise, I'm looking for zombie novels. If you have, again, the War and Peace, the Dune of zombie novels, the next World War Z, send it on over to me. I want to see it. Make your query out to Stephen. And Kaylee, what are you looking for this year?
I always say this, and it never happens, but werewolves. I'd love a werewolf, everyone. I'm really lacking in werewolf reads right now, although I know there are some really good ones by some people that might be present. Also, I enjoy apocalyptic, and I like post-apocalyptic, but I would actually like to see the world end, because post-apocalypse is fine, but I would actually like to see the world burn. So if you have something like that, that would be great. Not ruling any other genre out, but if you have something really nihilistic, that would be great.
So you're saying that some people just like to see the world burn?
Yeah, it's me.
We are big fans of nihilism here at French Press. We are both nihilists. Very what was Nathan Ludwig's story? Comfy, cozy nihilists here, though. We're nice enough people, but don't believe in much, I believe. Okay, Dan Schrader. Question: is there a plot you're tired of seeing in submissions? We got a lot. Well, I don't want to get it. I think I said let's not slag any of the short story submissions. I'm kind of tired. Now, when I mentioned zombies before, I'm kind of tired of the Walking Dead clones. Zombies came to a city in North America. It's either Chicago or New York or whatever, and everybody's in the urban. I'm kind of bored with that. Do something different if you're going to do zombies. What about you, Kaylee? You deal with our over the transom slush pile a lot.
I think maybe that when people are writing something like subgenre specific, there's a shocking amount of really similar stories. So I don't know if I'm wording this, but I prefer, like, for example, if you're gonna do vampires, go a bit out of the box with what's normal, because I like all of the vampire stories I read, but they do get a bit samey after a while, or give us something completely nuts like that we haven't, when I know everyone says that, but I suppose maybe I'm a bit sick of reading the stereotypical for each subgenre. Like, I don't read a lot of haunted house books anymore, and that's why I like The Perfectly Fine House so much, is because that's quite a twist on the ghost thing. But yeah, they get a bit samey for me. So yeah, just something different, I guess, with the subgenre, whatever that means, or a different take on a protagonist. I would love, not necessarily a hero character, maybe a great anti-hero or something.
Perfect. We did it.
You did it, and you did it perfectly, and you did it, and it was funny and delightful as always. So thank you both for being part of the expo. We're glad to have you both here. And folks, check out the giveaway and the open call submission for French Press. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
We'll be back in approximately 10 minutes with Jason Sizemore from Apex. But first, here's some more ads. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We have Jason Sizemore from Apex, and I'll be bringing him in to talk about the cool stuff that Apex is doing. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
How you doing?
I am doing great. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks. We think we have the PowerPoint stuff set up. You'll just have to let us know when you want us to switch a slide. Matt can hear you, so then he'll just switch the slide for you. Okay. All right. Well, I will get out of your way and just let us know when you want us to pop the slideshow up, and we'll get things going.
Hey, Book Buzz people. Thank you to Mary and Matt and Summer and the rest of the Book Buzz crew for inviting Apex to participate. It's, I think, our third year, maybe fourth. Time flies when you're having fun. So instead of me just talking and giving a lecture about what we're having this year, I thought, okay, we'll do PowerPoint, and because I'm always prepared and thinking ahead, it didn't occur to me that it would be helpful to Matt and Mary if I sent that PowerPoint early. So we're going to try to wing this. Matt is going to run the PowerPoint. And if you would like to go ahead and bring up the first page, Matt. Awesome. Yeah, I'm Jason Sizemore. I'm with Apex Book Company, which is also Apex Publications, if you may have heard of that. We publish books. We have an online dark fiction genre zine called Apex Magazine. Leslie Connor is editor-in-chief of. And we also have branched into writing workshops we do focus on genre writers, but they're for everyone. We've had some really good instructors, including Miss Mary San Giovanni and Premi Muhammad. We're working to get Nick Mamatas. So, reachyourapex.com, check that out, and apex-magazine.com if you'd like to check out our short fiction zine. Apex Books. Next slide. Thank you. The big news for the company this year was that we picked up distribution from Diamond Books. This means that we'll be in bookstores, Barnes and Noble, and lots of independent bookstores.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the best way so that we can see your slide. So I'm sorry if it keeps going on and off. I just wanted to throw that hold that thought.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that should be fine. Or is that too small for people to read? Even better. Thank you. I like this a lot better because now I don't have to look at myself as much. So we are a new addition to the Diamond Book distribution list. Our very first title comes out in May of 2024 through Diamond. We do plan to keep publishing other books under the print-on-demand model through, Amazon KDP. But that will be curated collections and anthologies, maybe some novellas. The books going out to the bookstores will probably be our major novel length works. So next slide. since we opened in 2005, we have published, the slide says 100 books. I think we're up to like 130. So doesn't necessarily sound like a lot, or some it may sound like a crazy number. It's just a matter, being around for 18 years, you um, eventually, just by longevity, get to a point where you have lots of books. Some of our more notable titles include Plague Birds, which is a dark SF novel by Jason Sanford. It was a Nebula Award nominee, Philip K. Dick Award finalist. Rosewater by Todd A. Thompson. We published the first edition of that before I think it was Orbit Books, some large publisher. They bought the rights to it. The Apex Book World SF series, that's edited by Lavi Tidhar. Pimp My Airship, Maurice Broaddus, which was a award winner as the Indiana Book of the Year. People in Indiana like their dystopians with pimps, I guess. Honestly, there are no pimps in Pimp My Airship. It's a take on Pimp My Ride. So, Let's Play White by Tesha Burke, who writes some pretty fierce horror. And Greener Pastures by Michael Wehunt. That's a very well regarded and popular title that was the Shirley Jackson Award finalist and contains some of the creepiest stuff you'll find out there. Next slide. Okay, so the bigger release is Cinder Witch, Sherry Priest. It's kind of a return to her roots as a Southern Gothic horror writer. This is a story about a journalist who is on the search for her missing aunt. The aunt has been missing for like 30 years. And someone keeps spray painting who put Ellen Thrush in the Black Gum Tree. Graffiti all over this little town in Tennessee. And so she and a friend of hers, a former instructor, go to this town and do a little research. Some dark shenanigans happen. Sherry calls this a bit of cozy horror. Not sure I completely agree with that. It's horror. I don't know how cozy it is about finding dead bodies up in trees. But Sherry has her own ideas of just what extremes should be considered horror. So this is our Diamond Books launch title. We are very excited to get a book from Sherry Priest. She's long been one of my favorite writers and was actually one of the very first people I published way back in like 2005, 6. Next slide. Yeah, some comps. I wouldn't say it's like Grave Reservations, but more like Fort and 20 Blackbirds, if for the Sherry Priest aficionados out there. It's also not as politically and racially concerned as Ring Shout by Jelly Clark, but it has all the other hallmarks of good Southern Gothic. Next slide. So probably the easiest book we have on our list to sell to the Book Buzz watchers is Island of the Dead. This is the trade edition of the Thunderstorm Press books version of Island of the Dead. It's always really fun working with Brian and getting to publish something of his that has zombies in it. It's quite exciting. Next slide. This fall, actually, I think in October, we're launching a Kickstarter for this new anthology called The Map of Lost Places, co-edited by Cherie Renee Thomas and Leslie Connor. It's a travel guide for horror fans, highlighting dangerous locations and terrible events. These places are real and or imagined, and go on the hunt with the editors for some of the spookiest, craziest location and regional based horror. We do have a list of anchor authors, including Victor LaValle, Rich Larson, Live Tier Horror, Brian fucking King, LP Tinder, Octavia Cade, Celeste, Rita Baker, and more. Assuming that we're funded, we will be opening to submissions as well, as we always like to include space for up and coming writers. This will be released in September 2024. The Kickstarter does come in October, so keep an eye on that. Next slide. Thank you. Some of our more recent titles include Dang Black Thing by someone who is definitely on the up and up, Eugene Baker. Bacon, sorry, let's pronounce that. She is a Western Australian writer who I think has a very similar existential concern as like Michael Wehunt, a very similar style in that you're reading that and you just get so uncomfortable. It's not necessarily horror, but the ideas in it can be horrifying. As you can see, there's lots of got a Publisher Weekly Start Review, some Forward Awards, honorable mention. It's a great little collection. I think you will be impressed by the depth of her imagination. Next slide. Okay, and here we have Tobias S. Bacall, the world famous Tobias S. Bacall, Zen and the Art of Starship Maintenance and Other Stories. So unlike most of the other titles that are more horror tinged, this is a collection of very middle of the road science fiction. A lot of these stories you could find like in an Asimov's, but they all have that charm and creativity that makes and fun that makes Tobias's work so memorable. And I do think that's the last slide. So thank you. Oh, no, there's one more slide. Next slide. Thank you. Yeah, there you go. It's just contact information. Chris Ryan has a question. What was involved in being added to DVD? Oh, Lordy. I had been searching for distribution for quite a while. I've done a lot of research. But Diamond was the first one that I went to after trying to finagle some like co-op deals with some larger presses. Diamond was very happy to pick me up. It was a very slow process. The wheels of publishing never moved quickly. And gosh, from the time I first started talking with Diamond to the point where we actually did the press release, it probably took about 8 months. And we're still a very long way from releasing our first book with them. A lot of the hardest work has been ramping up internal resources to support, these huge print runs, expanding responsibilities, because there's a lot more that goes on when you're releasing a book through a traditional route than through the PLD channels.
Does anyone have any final questions that you want to ask Jason? Post them now, and we will get them up for Jason to answer for you. In the meantime, though, I wanted to thank you, Jason, for being part of BuzzBook Expo again. It was very cool. I liked the slideshow. Very nice, very nice. One thing I did see that I just wanted to touch on real quick, because I found it to be interesting. We don't often, as writers, we don't often get to see that little piece of it, is it looked like one of the slides had marketing information, like your marketing plan, I guess, that like a simplified outline of the marketing plan. Are you finding that there's anything like new or different that you want to try, or that you've been trying, that especially in today's publishing climate, helps you reach a wider audience?
I think right now the big thing is there's a lot of success on Book Talk. I'd love to tap into that, but you got to have someone who enjoys creating that kind of content, little snippet videos. And no one on my team, no matter how hard I pressure Leslie Connor, who I think is a wonderful presenter, very engaging, would do really well, but she's far too shy to do it. And myself, I'm far too awkward and shy to do it as well. So maybe at some point, maybe when we release Brian Keene's book, I know Brian has a TikTok and toyed around with it. We'll get him to come and do some funny dancing videos to promote Island of the Dead.
He is most definitely not shy, I can tell you that.
What am I most looking forward to? Okay, so in the next year, I guess that moment of our first book release through Diamond, that's going to be kind of a very scary moment. Like, okay, all the marbles are on the table. All the money that we have and had, saved, have been put into releasing Shuri and Brian's books to the masses and to the bookstores. So that'd be a scary but also awesome moment. I really look forward to that and seeing how that pans out.
Well, great. It sounds like there's a lot of exciting stuff coming along. And again, I want to thank you very much for being part of BuzzBook Expo this year. It was great to see you, and I will email you tonight about that thing. And thanks again.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
folks, we will be back in a little bit. We are going to have one more set of ads and our final presenter, Bridgesgate Press. And so stay tuned. We will be right back. Hi, everyone. We have one more presenter today. It's Bridget's Gate Press, and they are going to be joined by 4 different authors who will be doing readings for us. I'm very thrilled. So I want to welcome them. I want to bring them in first. Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Pretty good, thanks. Thank you for being here today.
Towards me. Yeah. Good. Thanks for having us. We're trying to figure out our camera still. Yeah.
The physics of the camera work.
We're too old to do reverse images.
No problem. I figured I'd bring you in first if there's anything you want to say prior to me bringing in the first of the readers.
Sure. So we're excited to have 4 of our authors join us, and they've got books coming out between December of this year and July of next year. So we've kind of got a good mix of what we've got coming up. So we're excited to get them started and let them talk, let them read from their books versus hearing from us. We'll have time at the end for questions, answers, if anybody has any, or I'll completely just wing it. Steve might say.
Sounds good. And remember, folks, if you have any questions for Bridget's Gate Press or any of the authors reading today, just type question in the comments and then follow it up with your question, and we'll get it up on screen so they can see. All right, I'm going to bring us all out, and our first reader is Kev Harrison, so I'll bring him in first.
Great.
Okay. Sorry, it's a lot of jumping around. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Sorry, yes, we can hear you.
You can. Excellent. Good stuff. Just checking. My mic is here. So
you're all good.
Awesome.
So
all right,
thank
cool.
you for being part of the expo, and
thank you so much for letting me be here.
We're really excited. We're really excited to have you guys here. So I'm going to pop out and leave it all to you.
Super. Thank you. Okay, so this is a reading from my debut novel, which is coming out in March next year with Bridget's Gate Press. It's called Shadow of the Hidden. And this is a scene from near the beginning of the book, not right at the beginning. And just to give you a bit of background, basically the protagonist and his friend have gone to seek the help of an expert because a curse has been placed on his friend, which has resulted in some really horrible livestock mutilation in his parents' farm. And he also just had a cryptic warning about his niece. So here we go. Her desk was littered with books in various positions, all of them ornately decorated, calligraphy in shimmering metallic inks, spines threaded with gold leaf. She clicked and scrolled with her mouse. The screen turned away from us, then stopped. Okay then, here we are. She twisted the screen around to face us. This is a list of all known curses that involve the jinn. Oz. It is Oz, isn't it? Oz made an affirmative sound. Great. Oz, can you remember the words this old woman used when she spoke to you? My friend cleared his throat. I can. I remember every word. Great. Do you recognize the words from any of these on the screen? She zoomed in, making the calligraphy clearer, bolder. Oz shook his head. I didn't go to mosque in years. Okay then, just recite it for me, slowly. I'll try to transcribe. He cleared his throat again. His eyes shifted upward as he focused. Then he began to recite the curse. Stop! 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 Yilmaz was out of her chair, scooping back her hair in her hands and breathing out a long sigh. Not that one! My God, not that one! She began to pick up and close the books from the desk in front of her, stacking them to one side. What does it mean? Why are you so spooked? I said. Yilmaz sat back in her chair. Sebastian, she said, when I said this list was of all the curses in use, that's exactly what I meant. There are some curses, mainly those involving the ghoul, which are not in use, as in no one uses them. Please call me Seb, I said. Why are they not in use, as you put it? Her face twisted into a smile that was anything but happy. To me, it was all rage, packaged in sarcasm. When I studied in the US on my undergrad, I was amazed by all the girls in my boarding house. Their talk of Ouija boards, Bloody Mary, all that stuff. But later, I thought about it. Why do people do that kind of thing? I mean, what's the risk? She paused, eyes boring into mine. I glanced over at Oz. He too was staring at me. Are you asking me? I said. Mm-hmm. How should I know? I haven't done any of that stuff, ever. Aha, and why? Why haven't you? Because I swallowed, glanced at Oz again. Because what if something does happen? Why would I risk it? She leaned across the table, her curly hair bouncing exaggeratedly as she did so. But the risk is calculated. They don't believe anything's going to happen. Not really. It's the same with these. She sat back up and tapped the top of the PC monitor. No one believes in these. It's why they're written down. They're like the boogeyman, for scaring naughty kids. This, she pointed at Oz, this thing with your goats, this is used with intent, to harm, maybe worse. Oz's phone blasted loudly to life from his pocket. He slipped it out and glanced at the name. NS, his brother. Worse, he said. That's it.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Thank you so much, Kev. That was awesome. And remind us again, when is the book coming out?
So this is coming out in March next year, and I'm going to be actually over at the AuthorCon 3 in Virginia in April. So I'll hopefully be able to talk about it with people there if anyone's going to be there, which would be amazing.
Wonderful. We will see you there then. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Cheers.
Okay, our next reader that we have coming up is Red Legault. Hello, Red. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing all right. I'm always nervous before these things, so
yeah. I mean, like I said, it took me 3 years to remember to like unmute myself every time I got back on here to talk to people. So you're all good. It's all good. I'm going to pop out and let you do your thing, and then I will be back when you're done.
Okay. Hi, I'm Red Legault. I'm going to read from my forthcoming novel, Bloodstains by Gaslight. This is about an 18-year-old girl who's been suffering in a long-term abusive relationship. It's a little heavy at times. So the book starts where she's just about to gain the courage to finally leave her abusive boyfriend. But then he turns into a vampire. And he becomes stronger, he becomes more aggressive, and he traps her into this life of inescapable horror. So the passage I'm about to read is pretty early in the story. Reese had finally decided to break up with him, but he was in this accident. And so she goes to the hospital and she finds out that he's probably going to die from these injuries. So she's, in this scene, she's sitting outside the hospital and she's dealing with the complexity of emotions that she's going through. And what she doesn't know, and what the reader does know, is that he had, during this accident, been turned into a vampire. They were two broken kids who fell in love. Michael was her best friend and would have been the perfect life partner if he hadn't become so angry over the past few years. If he hadn't driven her away from her friends, if he didn't undergo this tragic transformation that turned him into a raging, violent jerk. The cold reality was that no matter how much she wanted to love him, he would continuously turn on her, and no matter how many chances she gave him to do better, he always resorted to violence. Maybe, if he wasn't so mean to her, she'd feel differently about his depression. Maybe she'd have more compassion when he'd call her in the middle of the night, threatening to commit suicide right after she'd threatened to leave him. She couldn't take these games anymore. She couldn't help but feel like she was stuck with him forever. Maybe this accident was meant to be. Maybe Michael succumbing to these injuries would be good for her. This was finally her way out. A darkness swept over her like a thick shroud. It clouded her mind and seeped into her heart, blackening it with heinous thoughts. Reese, gasping that she had, even for a second, wanted Michael so she wouldn't have to suffer through the fallout of a breakup. The automatic doors to the ER entrance opened, and out of the corner of her eye, a person in a hospital. Michael stopped in the moonlight, pale skin reflecting the glow, a ghostly luminescence. He staggered toward her, arms open, IV lines dragging behind him, dripping blood into. His face was battered and swollen, with lacerations so deep they'd surely leave scars for life. Crusted blood was in his split lip, and sticky black clung to his matted hair. He spoke her name in a single exhale, Reese, like he'd been holding it on his tongue, waiting for her to come to him, as if she were the only one that could help him. Even with all the doctors and nurses, his mom and his church, Michael needed Reese more than anyone. She was the only treatment, the only medicine that could save him, as always. Okay. So that was from Bloodstains by Gaslight, and it's going to be releasing July 2024.
Excellent. Yay. Well, thank you so much, Red. We were glad to have you. Thank you for being part of the expo.
All right.
It was a great job.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Nice. Our next reader up is Zach Rosenberg. So I'm going to bring him in. Hold on. Hey, Zach, how are you?
Hey, Mary, I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm pretty good, thank you. And I have an echo. I'm not sure why I'm echoing. I'm going to go so I don't keep echoing.
It's all good. It's great to be here. Hey, everyone. I'm Zach Rosenberg. I'm going to be reading from my forthcoming novella, which is a dark gothic vampire one that is called The Unquiet Grave. So, without further ado, this is a scene where the heroine, who is recently married and new at a castle, realizes the woman she's been seeing around the place is a little more than she appears. Are you frightened? Emma's voice is low and gentle. She rises to her full height, her nails longer than the Countess can remember. In the darkness, they are the talons of a hunting bird with only one lunge separating the two. Are you afraid of me? Fear is a mere word. Maria's eyes are wide, her muscles trembling. She is frozen in place, a rabbit facing a lion. Though she longs to run, she would not make it 2 steps before Emma is upon her. She has no weapon. The only tool she has is her tongue, and she uses it. Yes, an admission made with the knowledge that lying will be of no use. Emma's eye contact is unbearable, worse than the trepidation her very presence induces, and Maria diverts her gaze downward from those eyes to those gleaming teeth. She feels a strange sense of shame, as though she is being rude to the creature who may kill her. You walked out into the night, Countess Maria. You stepped from the comforts of your velvet cage into a realm that lacks for rules that you might comprehend. You left your domain and entered my own. This is my castle. Maria raises her head. Through her entire life, she has been made to yield and show submission to a people who are not hers. Ever since the cold droplets of baptism burnt away her old life, her entire existence was decided for her. I make my decision. Does my husband know what you are? He has his secrets, and they are multitudes. You should ask him about me. Emma waves a hand. I have no need of you this night. I have fed well. The memory of blood upon her lips strikes Maria like a hammer, and she recalls tales long dormant from her youth. Estries, her mother called them in playful bedtime story. Leeches, creatures trapped in this world, drinking the blood of the living. What is this place? Maria finds her in the courage to ask. Why do I dream of you here, but why do I wake to find you watching me? Dream of me? Maria's confidence evaporates. Oh, Countess, all castles have secrets. This one has just a little more than most. I am indeed old, Maria, but nothing I said earlier was a lie. I truly did enjoy your book, and I'm sorry for the undue stress this causes you. It is such a minor thing that Maria is almost ashamed of the gratitude she feels for the apology, but that's not what I want to know. And I'm sorry for not providing those answers, just as I'm sorry for everything else. Her hand is not the gelid caress of something from the grave as it brushes Maria's cheek. Though the flesh is moon pale, it is warm against Maria's skin. A finger trails with spidery delicacy to trace the curve of Maria's jaw down to her neck. And she is speaking a prayer of travelers. Make us reach our destined destination for life, gladness, and peace. And Maria hears her husband's voice. He is there, running to save her. She turns to him, grateful for deliverance. But when she looks back, Emma is gone, a shadow swallowed by the embrace of the night. And that's it.
Wow, wonderful job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. It was great to have you.
Always great seeing you.
You too. You too. Okay, our final reader is Ray Knowles. So hold on one sec. I'm going to bring Ray in. Hi, Ray. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being part of the expo. I'm going to get out of your way, let you do your thing, and then I'll be back in when you're done.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, everyone. So I'm Ray Knowles, and I'm going to read you the opening from Merciless Waters, which is a sapphic horror novella that's coming out in November. When the sun strikes violet hues through the cloud cover, I know the gods are angry with me. I do everything I can think of, swallow 3 strands of Lily's hair, push all the dust on my headboard into a pile, braid and unbraid frayed rope, then braid it again. None of it works. They still throw purple glimmers into the sunrise like noxious fumes. This is their warning. And I learn how they will punish me the moment I see him floating. His pruny fingers cling to driftwood as he coughs out a sputtering sound. I am about to lose her again. Rolling waves are the only sound, the rest of us still asleep below deck. His flapping arms beat the water's surface as his eyes roll. I see you. His blistered mouth opens in the shape of a plea, and I feel Lily's love slipping away. A seagull taunts me from a hot breeze overhead, tells me as much. I'd hoped it wouldn't be so soon. I thought I had more time. I wish he would drown. But the gods will not be so kind. Scales brush against my ankle, and I glance down to see Ambrose winding through the bow's wooden railing, his alternating stripes of black and white a gray blur. His little costume makes him look like our prisoner, but he is not. As he slithers from the deck, his body coils in the air, and he breaks the water's surface with barely a splash. I think he might be freer than any of us. Tahi's voluminous curls lift in the wind as she ascends from the crew's quarters. She's never far behind him. He went for breakfast, I say. She nods. Morning light kisses her golden skin, her black hair stark against the blinding blue. My body clenches, as if I can stop her from looking over the side, become a statue for both of us. It doesn't work, of course. Her chin dips toward the lapping waves, and through her thick curls over her face, in my mind I see her brow arching, warping her tattoos as she spies him bobbing. The timer is set on Lily's love. Tahi will save him, and the countdown begins. Time jumps for me then. I'm aware of the others waking, of splashing, heaving sounds of strong women with calloused hands. When he begins flopping about my freshly mopped wood, I descend to my quarters, clutching the banister as my head swims and dots trail about my vision. His sopping clothes smack the deck, and I press my ear to my shoulder to dim the sound until I can stow myself away in my chambers and shut the thick wooden door behind me. The bed is a mess of twisted sheets. I run my palm against the linen where Lily slept, feel the curves of her in the mattress. She must be with him already, though I didn't see her, too sick with loss. My face hovers above our shared bed, and I breathe in her lavender scent. How many nights do I have left? Grief threatens to take me. I push it back with a thin hope that Ambrose bit him in the sea. That venom courses through his thieving blood, binding his muscles and drawing foam from his blistered lips. The thought steadies me. I survived it before. I can do it again. As I rub my bedlid in between my fingers, I remember many dangers lurk on the ship, especially for a man. Though the gods may have brought him here, they will not look favorably upon his presence. It's unnatural. He does not belong here. And Ambrose may have bitten him already, or he might tonight or tomorrow. And the pigs will eat most anything. And the sea is deep and choppy and cold. And I have venoms all my own, if it comes to it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ray. That was wonderful. You all four of you were just fantastic. It was delightful to have you all as part of the BuzzBook Expo. So thank you again. I'm going to bring in Heather and Steve to talk a little bit. If anyone has any final questions, we're just about out of time. But if you have any quick questions you want to squeeze in real quick, let us know, and we'll get them up for Heather and Steve to answer. Again, thank you all of you for being on the BuzzBook Expo website, on the Expo. And we will have the listing of all the books on our website that we talked about today. Any questions for Heather, Steve, or any of the authors?
I just want to shout out all the authors. They did a great job. And what about Red's room? What a room.
Yes. It's funny you mentioned that. Matt and I were talking about, like, that's a really cool room.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. I was so tickled with the ones they chose. I always fall in love when I hear authors read parts of their books. I fall in love with them all over again.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
funnily enough, Kev chose the passage that hooked the book for me.
Oh, really? Oh, I love that. See, I always feel like there's one part of each book that I feel this defines the essence of the book itself, you know? And to me, that's always that's the part I write first before I write the beginning, the end, anything else. I always write the fun part first. That one part that sort of defines the book. Is that for when you purchase, like when you acquire books, are you looking for that one thing that
my mom read to us all through our childhood, and so often when I'm reading a book, it's her voice I hear is the narrator in my head. And that doesn't happen with every book, but the books we publish, that's the green light for me, is when I stop hearing my voice and I start hearing my mother's. And so when authors always ask me what's the favorite passage, I always pick the one where the narrator transitions from me to my mom, because to me, that's what makes the book magic. So.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
I mean, I always have my mom's voice in my head. I think probably all of us do, but luckily mine's a narrator.
Sometimes a little too much.
Right. She doesn't really nag about the dishes or the laundry, but she will if she doesn't think I'm reading enough. So, yeah.
Well, again, we're just about out of time. I wish we could stay on longer, but I really do appreciate you being part of the expo. I want to thank all of your authors for reading excerpts. They were all fantastic. And I like that you could see the different styles that Bridget's Gate acquires, that it's not just one type, or one subject matter, that everybody has their own voice and different styles, and so it was really cool. So thank you again.
Thank you for having us. This is a great event. We love it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And it was great. It was great to have you all. I have a few quick closing remarks before we let you all go. Just a few things. Remember again that BuzzBook Expo extends to tomorrow. It starts at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, same as it did today. And we will be having all new publishers coming to talk about things that are happening in horror for them for the rest of 2023 and 2024. I also wanted just to remind folks really quick that if you missed any part of the expo or will be missing any part of the expo, and you want to make sure that you see all of it, these streams are being recorded and they will be posted, I think, automatically, if I'm not mistaken, to the BuzzBook Expo YouTube channel. All of the past expos are there, and these will be there as well. So you can go back and watch any parts that that you'd like to see. One thing you can really do to help us with the expo is to share the link and subscribe to the YouTube page. I do believe that one of the benefits of the expo is that if we can, show readers, show writers that people are interested, that they're watching it, that they're sharing it with other people, that we can boast of some good numbers in terms of people who have watched the expo after the fact, that have watched the recordings of the expo. So again, we want to thank everyone who showed up today. And we would like to thank all of the presenters, authors, publishers, everybody who was a part of it. And of course, again, I want to especially thank Matt and Summer, because without them, nothing would get done. So thank you again, and we will see you tomorrow.